second speaker today will be Ryan Squire, is giving his second speech. Again, organize your speech, 5 to 7 minutes, entitled Spanish Moss. Please help me welcome Ryan Squire.
When my wife and I moved to Monterey a year and a half ago, we were pleased to see Spanish moss cascading from the cypress. We're both primarily denizens of the southeast, and there was something familiar about the Spanish moss. Mostly it was a visual link to the first place we lived together, and for which we share a special nostalgia. Savannah, Georgia was our first home amongst the Spanish moss, and I hope to convey a little of the sense of this place, and in the process perhaps convince you that if you happen to be on the other coast, Savannah might be worth a visit. While other cities developed and then struggled to integrate the green space, Savannah set up its green space early and for the most part kept it. The founder of Savannah, General James Edward Oglethorpe, established neighborhoods surrounding 24 different squares. And the squares are large, or decent-sized, grassy, tree-filled spaces, many with memorials. Chippewa Square, for example, contains a statue of the founder, James Oglethorpe. General Nathaniel Greene, a Revolutionary War general, is buried in Johnson Square. Now, he also has a square name for him, and that would be Greene Square. Greene might be the finest general never to actually win a battle. He led the British into a series of Pyrrhic victories in the Carolinas and Virginia and Georgia. I don't know why he's not buried in the one that's named for him. Perhaps it's just to add to that irony. Reynolds Square contains a statue of John Wesley, who is the founder of Methodism and also an early resident of Savannah. John Wesley stands something like this, the Bible, I presume, in this hand. Some prankster would often find it humorous to place a beer can in John Wesley's other outstretched hand. Down at the south end of the historic district is large Forsyth Park with a grand white fountain. It's here in the spring and the fall that students from the Savannah College of Art and Design gather to play ultimate frisbee or sunbathe. So it's here amongst Nathaniel Greene and John Wesley and James Oglethorpe and artsy but athletic types that a visitor or a resident of Savannah can experience the Spanish moss and trees. The northern end of Savannah is bordered by River Street, and just beyond that, the Savannah River. In our more carefree, childless days, my wife and I would often find our way to Kevin Barry's Irish Pub on River Street. After listening to the old Dun Cow, a song about a pub which catches fire, and Loch Lomond, a song about two Scottish soldiers captured by the British during the Jacobite Wars, my wife and I would stumble amongst the cobblestones as we made our way back to our house. Cobblestones date from the time of the great sailing ships, and Savannah was a great port, and the ships, upon coming to Savannah, would be loaded with stones as ballast, and on arrival they would be dumped to make room for goods from the New World, perhaps cotton. And the stones gathered in such quantity that they were then used to pave the streets. So, back to the Irish pubs. I'm not certain that Savannah has a large Irish population, but it plays a part. Every year, thousands of people, including every fool within about 600 miles, descend upon Savannah for the St. Patrick's Day. And every year, at least one of these fools can be seen to apply some Spanish moss to his face as a beard or hair as a wig. Locals know that the Spanish moss harbors red bugs and other unpleasant insects. So I've taken you from the south end, Forsyth Park, tree-filled, grassy, Spanish moss-filled Forsyth Park with the fountain, to the Guinness beer-soaked, cobblestone, paved River Street. But in addition to, in between these two areas, in addition to the squares, there are some of the finest preserved examples of early American architecture anywhere. You see, when Sherman marched from Atlanta, he didn't burn Savannah. Instead, he took it on December 22nd, 1864, and instead he presented it to Lincoln as a Christmas present. And then he set up his headquarters there. Union soldiers set up camp in downtown Liberty Cemetery, which perhaps in Ewok might be known as Yub Nub Cemetery. I don't know. They set up camp there, and apparently very bored, they applied themselves to the memorial stones, causing many early Savannians to die well before they were born. Some of the historic structures not burned include the Juliette Gordon Lowe House. Lowe is a founder of the Girl Scouts. For this reason, Savannah is a site of pilgrimage for many Girl Scouts, who are much more well-behaved than the St. Patrick's Day pilgrims. Another house which was not burned is Mercer Williams' house. In 1969, this house was purchased by and renovated by Jim Williams, the protagonist of the book and movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Barron. Coincidentally, this house is in historic Savannah on Monterey Square. Now I have to tell you, in fact, the visual link my wife and I found between Savannah and Monterey is completely superficial. The Spanish moss of California and the Spanish moss of Savannah, Georgia are entirely different organisms. But just as it is possible for two organisms to share similar exterior appearance while being completely different, it is possible for two places separated by perhaps 2,000 miles to both share the adjective beautiful. Hope you make it to Savannah.